Um, yeah, we're just gonna give Brenna a moment to get that situated. So yeah, this is kind of like the entrance of UCSB. So this is where we normally would go through. It's called Henley Gate. As y'all can see, here's the ocean on the side. And basically, a brief overview of our tour is that we'll go over academics, housing, dining, resources on campus, as well as like research opportunities and student life and how to get involved and whatnot. Um, oh, Ryan, I think Brenna is not unable to unmute herself. Yes, because she's not a host.
Okay, you can unmute her.
Okay, got it.
Yeah. Oh, okay, cool.
Okay, yeah, and so I'll go ahead and put that host back on. I couldn't unmute myself right now, but awesome, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, great. So I'll just introduce myself real quick. My name is Brenna, and my pronouns are she, her, hers. I'm actually a transfer student, so I just finished my first year here, and I transferred from the Sacramento area, and I'm studying global studies and French.
And so like I was saying, we'll kind of go brief overview about UCSB. We will have a little bit of time, hopefully at the end, to if you have any questions for us as students. You will have an admissions presentation after this. If you have any admissions questions, you can save it for them. They'll probably be able to answer better than we will. So yeah, also, I think the chat is disabled, but at the end we can ask questions within each other. So yeah, we'll get started at first with academics. And we'll go to the UCSB library for that, and Brenna will take this over.
All right, so this here is the library we're looking at. And just real quick, I just want to mention my favorite part about the library. That very top floor, there's windows all the way around, and you can look at the ocean while you study. It's my favorite place to go to study pre-COVID times. So to talk a little bit about academics, so there's 3 colleges here at UCSB. There's the College of Letters and Sciences, the College of Creative Studies, and the College of Engineering. So like I mentioned before, I'm a global studies major, which is in the College of Letters and Sciences, and that is definitely our biggest one. There's about 18,000 undergraduates that are in that college. Compared to the other 2, they're much smaller. So the College of Creative Studies has about 400 students, and then the College of Engineering has about 1,400. So definitely the majority of our undergraduate students are in the College of Letters and Sciences. So to talk about class sizes a little bit, it does depend on your major as well as where you're at in your studies. So the first couple of years here, when you're doing the general ed, that's when you get the bigger class sizes and the big lecture halls. But your 3rd and 4th year, it drops from about 50 average class size to about 35. A lot of my classes as a 3rd and 4th year have been like 20 students. So definitely the higher up you get and the more specialized, I'd say, smaller classes. If you do have one of the big lecture halls though, we have a really cool thing here called sections. So it basically means if you're in a big like 80-person class, you will probably have a section that meets once a week. And what a section is, it's about 15 to 25 students in your class that will meet up with a teacher's assistant or the professor. And the teaching assistants are normally grad students who are in the same area of study. And it's a really cool way to get a small group discussion, ask the TA any questions you have about the lecture. So even with the big classes, you can still find that small class feeling. And then another cool thing is that all the TAs and professors have office hours. So this is just a couple hours a week where you can drop into their office and ask them any questions you might have. I tend to use this before a big essay, like when we can choose our prompt. And if I know what I want to write about, I like to go into office hours and just like double check with the professor that I'm on the right track. And it really helps. I like it. And if you're considering grad school, it's also, or getting involved in research, the best way to start off with that is to just go to office hours and talk with the professors. We are on a quarter system, which is different from a lot of schools. So instead of 2 semesters, we have 3 quarters, and those are 10 weeks long and then 1 week of finals. So some students really like this. Some students prefer the semester system. I personally love the quarter system because I tend to get bored with classes around week 10. So I like that it's get in quick, and around the time the quarter is ending is when I'm losing interest in the topic. So I love it. And it also allows you to take more classes than if we were on a semester system. So if you're interested in different topics, it's better for that because you can get to try more things. Monica, do you have anything to add about the academics here?
Yeah, Brenna pretty much covered all of it. Yeah, make sure to talk to your professors. It's like really scary at first. I was like really nervous, especially like my first year in college. I was like, oh, I don't know, what if they think I'm dumb or something? And then one of the tour guides, I was sitting in on their tour, and they were actually like, yeah, I went to my professor's office hours. I didn't even have any questions. We just ended up talking about burritos for like 30 minutes. So, you know, it's definitely scary, but they're people too. So they're definitely way more approachable than we like to make them out to be.
Definitely. My first quarter, I didn't go to any office hours because I was so intimidated. And then my second quarter, that was like my goal, was to try to go to an office hours. And now I love them. I go to like all the office hours. They're so helpful, and it's really cool to get to know the professors.
Especially right now, they're like super lonely on Zoom.
Yeah.
So with that being said, we can move on to some resources that UCSB can provide for y'all. So this is our student resource building. Oh, this always pops up. Anyways, so this is our student resource building. It's exactly what it says. It's a student resource building. It was made for students, by students, and basically has a bunch of different resources on here, and I'll name some of the most important ones. So first we have CLAS, which is our Campus Learning Assistance for Students, and it's basically like free tutoring because all these resources are actually already included within your tuition. So I like to be like, get your money's worth and go to some free tutoring. There's this misconception that only if you're failing or if you don't know what you're doing that you should go to tutoring. But honestly, tutoring can take you from a B to an A. And it's just really helpful to get your, like, whether you want to do your writing, like Brenna said, you can go to office hours. You can also go to CLAS and they can go over your essay with you. You can do tutoring sessions with like chemistry if you're maybe in a STEM classes. They also do language, and they do walk-ins, and which are also offered right now online. They'll do like phone appointments or Zoom appointments. My roommate just had an essay one the other day, and it was really quick, and she really liked it. So it's definitely still there for you, however long COVID lasts, right? And then another resource we have is EOP programs. There are educational opportunity programs. So if you're first gen income eligible, you're automatically placed in this program. I actually also work for this program under the Cultural Resource Center. So we have 5 different cultural resource centers, like our Middle Eastern, our Chicanx Latinx, and we have 3 other ones. And so those are also really cool spaces to like kind of experience your culture, because I know coming into like predominantly white space, it can be difficult, and this is a good way to like experience your culture again. We also have counseling, whether you want to go to grad school, whether you want to like maybe pick your classes or whatnot. We have counselors for them, and we have things like EOP grants if you need an emergency grant for like if you have a medical bill that you can't pay. EOP will be there for you in that sense. We also have DSP, our Disabled Students Program, and so if you have any need for help in class, you can even have a designated note taker, and then you can also get accommodations, whether you want like longer test times or things like that. And it's actually really helpful. It doesn't always have to be for like a permanent like, I don't want to say like disability, but if you like not like a permanent disability, but also like, let's say one of our tour guides, his roommate broke his pinky over COVID. And so he really couldn't like type or something, like it was his arm, I think his arm. So he couldn't type while he was in classes. So what DSP did is they sent him a whole computer that will like, he'll speak into and will write his notes for him. So DSP is also really helpful, whether you want permanent help or just temporarily. So that's really a great resource. We also have our Women's Center here, our non-traditional Students Resource Center. So like if you come in older than most other students and whatnot, and they have like lockers for you if you're like a parent. We also have our Children's Center in here, which I think students get discount for. So the Student Resource Building is really like this whole building that just kind of has everything that you could ever really wish for. And almost everyone on here is doing online programming. We also have the Resource Center for Gender and Sexual Diversity, and they throw a lot of amazing programs. I've gone to a lot of their drag shows, and they're always a lot of fun. I think they even did like a drag show bingo earlier this quarter, so that's really amazing. And all these resources are really just there to support you and try to like make your UCSB experience better, because it's okay to ask for help. Transitioning can be difficult, even if you've already been at UCSB for 2 years. There's still times that it gets kind of difficult. And with that being said, we'll move on to another resource center, which is called the Career Services and CAPS.
All right, so I think this is one of the most important buildings on campus. I also love it because it's pink and cute. So there's two services are in this building. The first one is CAPS that I'll talk about today, and that stands for Counseling and Psychological Services. So hugely important. For a lot of people, college is a tough time. Like there's a lot of stresses, a lot of things we have to get done. So it's a really cool service here. You can talk to a licensed psychologist, there's group counseling, free individual counseling, and this is all free regardless of your health insurance, whether you're on the school insurance or your own. This is free for all the students here. They even have peer mentors, which is other students that are trained, and they do really cool like group services. They have egg chairs and massage chairs. So once we're back on campus, if you just want to de-stress, this is a place to go. And then also if you wanted a more long-term therapist, they can refer you out to someone in the community. So this is a really great service here on campus, and they are also all virtual right now. So you can do virtual appointments right there. And then the right side of that building is career services. And so I love career services. This past summer, I really wanted this internship, and they go over resumes, cover letters, practice interviews, and I did it all through the career services, even virtually. And it's really handy. I thought my resume was like well done, and then I took it to career services and I found out it was not nearly as well done as it could be. So it's super helpful. They also host career fairs and graduate school fairs. We actually had our grad school fair yesterday. And I'm considering grad school, so I went and I was able to virtually talk with representatives from a bunch of different schools. So if you're interested in grad school, law school, med school, they have a bunch of resources to help you down that path. All right, and do you have anything to add, Monica?
Yeah, they're super helpful. Like I just had an appointment with CAPS the other day. It was like my first experience with like therapy and whatnot, and it was actually more helpful than you thought. You know, like, there's a lot of stigma around, getting mental health help. But you know what Brenda said, it's like really important, one of the most important resources on campus. So definitely like make use out of it. And then next we can move on to the MCC, also known as the Multicultural Center. So this, I kind of want to just tie back to what I said earlier. Oh, also, just a side note, a resource that I forgot to mention at the Student Resource Building. It's actually located at the library, but it's our Transfer Student Center. And so it's on like the first floor of the library. And so they also have peer mentors, other transfer students who can help you. They also have specific college and letter advisors who are there for transfer students. And so they have a bunch of like tutoring and whatnot, and like a space for transfer students. So I just really wanted to mention that. But yeah, here we are at the MCC. So like I mentioned before, like with the cultural centers at the Student Resource Building, at a predominantly white institution, it might be a little bit difficult to kind of feel like you can really get integrated. And so the MCC is a really good place for culture, and a good intersection for like different people from different cultures and whatnot. Like I know I've gone to a couple events that, I'm Mexican, so like I've gone to a couple events that don't have to do with Mexico or something like that. I've also seen a lot of events that kind of tie in like Mexico's traditions to like modern. So like if y'all ever heard of like folklorico dance, or like these big dresses that you kind of just flip around, and I did that in high school. And so I saw like a modern performance here, so it mixed like the old traditions with like new ones, and it was really beautiful to witness, especially as a first year when I was feeling homesick. Also, the MCC is just really open to everyone. They have a study space. Here's like a little example of it. Once it loads, here we go. And they have different art. So if you're interested in art, they change these art for different artists. Like I don't know how often they change it, but they're constantly changing it, and it'll be different every time you walk in there. They also have a kitchen here, so if you ever want to, like if you take lunch on campus, if you ever want to warm up food or want to like, they also always have a lot of events, so they'll leave food, so you can always walk in and grab the food if there is any left over. So that's really amazing. They also even have a mini theater where they play movies or show performances where organizations can like rent it out on normal circumstances, right? And then I know they've like collaborated to bring a lot of people. So I know they did a screening of Coco. If y'all have ever seen that movie, they did like a pre-screening to like the release of it. They had Jordan Peele come once and talk about being a Black man and what it was to write Get Out. So like they have really amazing events, and they're having a lot online as well. So make sure to check that out. All these events like we're talking about, if you go on Shoreline, we can talk about it a little bit later, but you can even kind of like witness some of the events even if you're not a UCSB student yet, you know? So one last thing, they also always have a bagel like week during finals week. They'll like, I can't like, this is a still picture, so I can't really show you a panorama, but like in this little area, they put out a bunch of different bagels, like everything bagel, raisin bagels, cinnamon bagels, all kinds, and you can kind of just make your own bagel for finals week. I've never gone, but I've heard really good things about it. So Brenna, if you want to add anything. Cool, then we'll move on with Brenna to the residence halls.
Okay, there we go. I muted myself accidentally. All right, so what we're looking at right now is actually freshman housing, but I'm going to be focusing more on transfer upperclassmen housing for us today. Oh, there we are. That's some of our transfer housing apartments. They're super nice, as you can see. So transfers have the option to live in our university-owned apartments. We have 5 of them: Santa Ynez, West Winds, El Dorado, San Joaquin, and Sierra Madre, which is the one we're looking at right now. So they're apartment style living, so they have anywhere from 2 to 8 people, depending on the size of the apartment. This is what I did as a transfer student my first year. I lived in Santa Ynez, and to me, it was really important for my college experience because I was able to meet a lot of other transfer students who are in the same boat of coming in as a third year and not really knowing anyone. But there's also other upperclassmen who aren't transfers that still live in these apartments. So that was really cool. In my apartment, there was 5 of us and 3 were transfers, 2 were continuing students. And we would always be asking the continuing students, like, where do we eat in town? Like, what are the fun things to do here? So it's a really cool community that forms in these apartments. We do have RAs, residence assistants, that live there, and they put on a lot of fun activities. There's pizza nights, movie nights. Every quarter they'd walk around and give us all smoothies. So yeah, it's a really cool community that's built here. And they're all pretty close to campus. They're all like a 5 to 10 minute bike ride. Mine was right in the middle of that. So it's really quick and easy to get to your classes. And then if you guys want a better idea of what all of these apartments look like, you can visit the UCSB housing website, and they actually have like 360 virtual tours of every one of the apartment complexes and what they look like inside. So I definitely recommend checking that out if you're considering living on campus.
Yeah, we also have family housing, which is definitely an option as well. But yeah, that one can be a little bit more difficult to attain, but it is an option. And then I'll talk a little bit about dining. So this is, and Brenna, I'll probably be asking you a little bit about your transfer experience in dining. So we'll kind of do this one a little bit together. This is like where I usually dine because I came in as a first year. So like we do have our dining commons. We have 4 different kinds. We have De La Guerra, which is this one. It's DLG for short. We also have Ortega, Portola, and Carrillo. Carrillo is my personal favorite. And they're all open to every student. So even if you are transfer living on off-campus housing, you are allowed to schedule yourself however many swipes you'd like. I know one of the tour guides had like 5 swipes a week, and so they were able to like come into the dining commons when they were on campus. You don't have to, so it's really just an option if you like it. If not, that's okay too. We have different options for like different food places. So we also have what's it called, our food bank. So it's usually located at our university center, and what they do is you can walk in and they have different like amounts that you can get each day, and you can literally go each day of the week and basically maybe get like, you get to get 1 carb and like maybe like 2 fruits and whatnot. And so like that's always really amazing. Even as a first year where I had like a full meal plan, I like didn't want to waste money on snacks, or like not waste money, but like sometimes I didn't even have money for snacks. So I definitely went to the food bank a lot, and they always had really good snacks and kind of kept you going throughout the day because the dining commons are like timed. I'll give you a little panorama of the dining commons just to kind of give you a sense of what they look like. Also, most of these pictures that we're showing y'all are really old. So if you go on campus in the future and you're like, this is not what they showed me on the tour, it's because most of these are definitely outdated. But yeah, this is kind of a brief overview of our dining commons. Some other options to go out to eat is Isla Vista, what Brenna said earlier, how like they always ask for recommendations. Isla Vista is like our small college town, like right next to UCSB, like literally the only thing that separates it is like this one strip of street. So you could cross the street and then you'll be right in Isla Vista, and they have a bunch of eating options there. I'll kind of give you all a little overview. So this is one of the good things about being online. If we were in person, I would never be able to show y'all Isla Vista because we would be way off track in our tour. But this is kind of a little overview. This is it at night, and oh yeah, this is like a little 360 of it. They have Starbucks. Freebirds is like really iconic for a lot of people. You know, I personally like it, but it's not my favorite. And it's definitely a lot of bikes. We are a bike-friendly campus. We also have, this is it at night. So yeah, it's kind of a brief overview about dining. We also offer CalFresh Advocates, which is EBT. So I'm on EBT right now. So if you are off campus, even if you are on campus, you can apply as long as you're like a U.S. citizen. There's a couple other qualifications that you need to go through, but the CalFresh Advocates, they can walk through it with you and kind of, so that's what I did. I went in, I made an appointment, and they walked through it with me to make sure I was qualified, and then helped me sign up throughout the application process because it can be kind of confusing. And there's a lot of organizations who do a lot of enrollment parties as well, where like you all are signing up together. So that's always a lot of fun too. That's kind of a lot about like dining and food and whatnot. And Brenna, if you want to add anything.
Sure. Yeah. So just for my personal experience, I decided not to get a dining pass my first year. I kind of just figured the apartments have kitchens, so I just cook all my own food, and I normally then like pack a lunch to bring to campus. But some days I'd end up campus longer than I thought, or I didn't have time to bring anything. And there's still a ton of food options, even if you don't have a dining commons pass. We have like Panda Express, Subway, like Jamba Juice, so many options. So yeah, that's what I would do. I would just buy lunch on campus if I had to. But I do know some other transfer students that would get, the most popular one I heard with transfer students is the 5 meals a week pass, and then they would just use that Monday through Friday to get a meal on campus when they were there. So that's definitely a popular option and a way to go.
Yeah, I definitely feel that. Sometimes I would pack a lunch, but be like, wow, I'm not really feeling my lunch. Let me go get something else. We also have the Arbor, which is right next to the library that when we were showing you when Brenda was talking about academics, and the Arbor actually takes CalFresh. So if you do have like the EBT, you can use it for like non-heated food. But I definitely would buy their soups a lot. And then I want to move on to the Marine Science Institute. This is such a pretty building. Usually on like a regular tour, we'd be walking through here and like you'll look onto the side and you'd be able to see the ocean and it would be so amazing. But we're sadly online and that's okay, right? I just want to talk about research and like what it means to be at a research university. So UCSB is a research university, as I mentioned. One thing that's really unique about it is that we have more undergraduate students than we do have graduate students. So we overpower the grad students by a lot. And what this means is that we're able to have a lot more opportunities in jobs, in internships, and research opportunities and whatnot. So one of the things that you can get involved into research is called this website called FRAP. So it's a Faculty Research Assistance Program. So basically you can go on the website, researchers and professors will like post their research, like this is what I'm looking for. I'm looking for this amount of students and we'll be doing this. And so you're able to kind of like email them and join that way. Or like we mentioned before with office hours, you can always just go into the office hours and talk to them and just be like, hey, like what kind of research are you doing? Are you looking for anyone? Or sometimes they'll even offer you a position. My roommate last year as a second year was like, went into office hours to ask for help on homework. And she was like, oh, like, you know, what research are you doing? She's like, oh, I'm doing some on like, I think it was Alzheimer's or something like that. And she was like, oh, that's really interesting. And she was like, yeah, if you ever need any units, let me know, I'll put you in my lab. And my roommate was like, oh, okay, you know, didn't really think a lot about it. And the next quarter, she actually needed a class to fulfill units. So she was like, okay, let me do this research opportunity. And so the research went really well to the point where she did it all over to the summer and it was approved. So now it's being published and her name is on the research because she helped with the research. So, you know, definitely don't be shy to go into office hours or to ask what they're doing because sometimes they might even offer you the position because, you know, professors are always looking for some undergraduates to kind of help them get through that. And the same goes for internships. We also have career services like Brenna mentioned earlier. And because there is a lot of undergraduates here, a lot of us get opportunities rather than like competing with grad students to get them, which is really nice. We also are like the only large university around in like 2 hours north and 2 hours south. So like the whole Santa Barbara County, like job opportunities and whatnot are specifically, you know, like catered to UCSB students because we're not competing with other UC or state schools. So that's really amazing as well. As for study abroad, I have yet to study abroad. I had a couple friends who were planning to do it this year, but then, you know, everything broke out. Study Abroad did say that they would start fall 2021. So if y'all are looking for that, definitely check out their events. They have been throwing some already. They recommend you do everything maybe like a year before. I know there's like a misconception that maybe transfer students can't do it or STEM students can't do it, and that's like a lie. Like you just have to talk to your advisor and really get it situated and plan it out, and you definitely can do it. There's some transfer students who don't even come onto campus their first year because they go study abroad right away, and you know, you can definitely do that if that's what you want to do. We have a lot of options in different places. If you are an EOP student, a first generation income eligible, we even have EOP study abroad, which means that like they'll like guide you through it as a first generation student, because sometimes that can be more difficult. And the office is located in Goleta, so it's super more accessible than we were like at another UC. Most of our programs run through UC EAP, which is the UC Education Abroad program. I just said a lot, so remember to like keep any questions you have in mind. Brenna, if you want to add anything.
Yeah, I actually did a lot of research about the study abroad because I was hoping to do it this quarter, but of course that wasn't able to happen. But one thing I just want to mention is that your scholarships can go with you. So a lot of programs a lot of study abroad programs at the end of it tends to be cheaper for a lot of them than doing a quarter at UCSB. So my quarter abroad, even including flights and everything, was going to be cheaper than a quarter at UCSB. So if the financial thing is something you're concerned about, I definitely go talk to the office because your financial aid will follow you. I definitely not let that hold you back from going and talking to someone and figuring out if it's possible for you.
Yeah, thank you. And then now we can kind of move on to student life and like what it's like to be at UCSB.
Yeah. All right, so I'm gonna talk a little bit about the clubs on campus and student organizations. We have a ton, we have over 500. And these are everything from multicultural clubs to hobby or interest. There's also career-oriented clubs. So just an example of some of those, we had a Costco club at one point, a hammocking club. So these are more just like social fun clubs, but we also have really cool like career and then like your major-based clubs. So I'm in a club of global studies students. My roommate she's a communications major, and she's actually the president of our AMA, American Marketing Association club here. And that has given her a ton of opportunities in marketing. So I definitely check out the career clubs if that's something you're interested in. They have like speakers coming, giving advice on how to get jobs after graduation. And then we also have Greek life here. It's not as big as it is at other schools. It's about 11% of students. So I would say if it's something you're interested in, a lot of people, including transfer students, have a really great experience with it, but it's by no means necessary to have a social life here. There's plenty of social opportunities outside of Greek life. And then also our Greek life has different categories. There's like the social one, which is kind of more what you think of for like classic Greek life. But we also have multicultural fraternities and then career oriented, and these ones are gender inclusive. So just an example, like there's a pre-law fraternity here. And then, so you can actually start your own club if for some reason out of the 500 clubs, there's not something that is of great interest to you. You can start your own club. You just need 3 other students and a faculty signature, and you're good to go. And you can actually check out the list of our clubs online. I believe it's Shoreline. Is that correct, Monica? Yeah, okay, so shoreline.com, you can check out the list of all of our different organizations. And I really recommend it for getting involved in campus. My first quarter here, I actually went to like the first meeting of the year of a couple different clubs just to check them out and see what one I thought would be the best fit for me. And it's a really cool way to meet people and find friends with similar interests.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've seen a lot of first years like in clubs that I've been in already, like get involved online, and it's definitely more difficult because, you know, you're not getting like maybe that interaction that you really want, like it has to be through screen. But I know it's definitely helped me like yesterday I was studying alone and I was like, wow, like, I really don't want to study. This is so boring. I can't do this. And one of the girls from my club was like, does anyone want to study on Zoom? And so I did that and ended up studying way longer than I probably would have if I was studying alone. So it's definitely a good way to keep getting involved. There's a bunch of different organizations on campus. Ryan, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but like the undergrad scholars is like an organization. Yeah, so, and they're the ones throwing this whole thing. So definitely get involved in whichever you feel like will give you that community, and don't feel pressured the fact that if you don't fit in right away, because I know in a couple orgs I was like, man, like I can't do this. Like no one likes me. Like I can't make any friends, and it just takes a little bit of initiative, and it can be like nerve wracking, but it's possible to find your community. Yeah. And we definitely have a lot more time than I expected. Brenna, do you want to go over the USEN maybe a little bit?
Yeah, so would you mind taking us there? Okay, there we go. So the USEN is definitely like my favorite place to hang out on campus. As you can see, it's a beautiful view. So that's our lagoon right there. And then just beyond the lagoon is the ocean. So the USEN is really just like the center of campus. That's where you'll find a lot of our food options. So that is where, if I had to eat on campus lunch or dinner, I would head to the USEN and get my food. So there's kind of the dining area you can see. And they also put on a lot of really cool events down here, like concerts and comedy nights and karaoke. So yeah, so that's the food aspect of it, but there's like a housing center. So if you want to live off campus, like in Isla Vista, you can go to this housing center and they'll help you like reviewing your lease agreement. They'll even like go and videotape your apartment before you move in. And they really just, they're there. They got your back for when you're signing for a lease in Isla Vista. This is where you'll find the bookstore. What else is there, Monica? There's a lot going on there.
Yeah, that's pretty much the gist of it.
Okay, yeah.
It's a good place to kind of hang out. Like you see all these couches. These big windows are my favorite, especially when it rains, because you kind of just see it on the lagoon. So that's really cute. And they have even a little corner store if I can find a picture of it. Yes, here's the corner store. They have this wall of candy. So when I was a first year, I used to go a lot and like grab a little bag of like Jelly Bellies or something like that. So it's definitely a good way to kind of get a snack and whatnot. So, yeah.
And that back area so this is like the patio, and below that there's a grass field leading up to the lagoon. And when the weather's nice, which is most days here, that is definitely where you'll find people like sitting back there eating their lunch. If I just wanted to take a break and not think about school in between classes, this is where I would go and hang out. And it's just a really relaxing atmosphere.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there's like a little path around it too. So if anyone's a runner, I personally am not, but if you like to run, you can definitely take the lagoon path. It will take you through like a little bit like around the lagoon, as well as like even up to Campus Point, which we'll go to next to kind of give our like wrap up on why we chose UCSB. And it'll take you like to the labyrinth, which we do have a labyrinth with, which is like there's like this conspiracy that if you go and do the labyrinth before your finals or a test, that like you'll pass. I've yet to do it, so I don't know how true that is, but it's I did hear that my first year coming here.
Also, a lot of bird watchers like to go to the lagoon. I didn't really understand bird watching until the lockdown, and now I walk this lagoon a lot, and there's really cool birds, so I get it now.
Yes, so here is the Campus Point that I was talking about. So it's definitely it's right literally on the edge of campus, the Campus Point. And what's usually really cool is that actually they have a little like, so speaking of like going back to student life a little bit, we have our recreation center where you can like, go and work out. There's like a track, we have like 2 Olympic sized swimming pools. We even have like a hot tub. So there's definitely a lot of activities to do if you're like into that kind of stuff. They also have our adventure program in there. What's really cool is that you can, with the adventure program, you can rent out things. So they have a station here at the ocean where you can rent out surfboards and kayaks and whatnot. They even have a pass that you can buy. I think it's like $60-ish for a whole year. And not like that thing where it's like it's only the school year, but like an actual whole year. And I bought that my first year, so I surfed a couple times. I was really bad. I personally like the paddle boards. I kind of just stand there. It was easier, but yeah, that's definitely also an option. A lot of people's goals is to surf once they get here. I gave up on that after my first year, but y'all can still do that if that's what you really like. Yeah, so if you want to add anything, Brenna, before we kind of like wrap up why we chose UCSB.
Yeah, so I also tried the surfing and gave up. A little harder than I expected it to be. But yeah, so also in our like recreation side of things, they have a lot of options for sports if you want to play non-competitively. Just for an example, we have these like exercise classes that are just one unit, and they have like basically every sport you can think of. So like I did volleyball one quarter, and it was just like 2 class times a week just for an hour, and it just felt like going to volleyball practice when I was a kid again. So it's just like a really fun way to stay active and play a team sport.
And they're still doing online too. So if you want to do like a yoga class through Zoom, like definitely can do that. Yeah, so we'll kind of wrap up and say why we chose UCSB. Brenna, do you want to go first or should I go?
Sure. Yeah. So when I chose UCSB, I was just looking at what school had the best global studies program, and I wasn't really considering other factors, which looking back on it, I now realize that a lot of other factors are important. But yeah, I decided UCSB just for the global studies program. And I hadn't even toured it when I did the tag agreement to get here. So I did that. And then once I got here, of course, immediately I was like, whoa, I'm like by the beach. I didn't really think about that. And then I was just so impressed by the culture here. I would say like what I really like about the culture is that a lot of the students are very well-rounded. Like it's not necessarily like a one-track mind on school and getting perfect grades. I would say a lot of students here are involved in clubs and outside activities and volunteering. And I just feel like a lot of the students are very passionate about what they do in the classroom and out. And it shows like very well-rounded students who I think are making the most out of all the opportunities here, because UCSB does offer a lot of opportunities. So yeah, I came here because I liked the academic program, but I'm staying for so many more reasons.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, UCSB was actually my dream school. I remember stepping on him, I think I was a sophomore, junior in high school. And I was like, whoa, like this is it. Like it's over. Like this is where I'm going. And so I'm from like a really small town where a lot of people don't go to college. And like I'm also first gen immigrant and like a student. Like so I was like, dang, like will UCSB even like accept me? Like what will like this happen? Like I don't see a lot of people going to UCSB from my town. I do live like 8 hours away. So I was really nervous thinking about like even going to UCSB, but then I convinced myself, I was like, once I get in, I'm submitting my SIR, which is your submit to intent to register, which means like you're basically saying yes to the school. And so I was like, you know, right when I get in, I'm gonna say yes. And I remember like being in my like last period of my class and like having to pee a lot. Like I was like, no, like I can't. I'm so nervous to see like my results. And like once I got in, I was like ecstatic. I was so happy, you know, like I really thought like this is what I wanted. And then you know, it can be kind of difficult, like if you have like family ties. So my parents were definitely like, you know, UCSB is 8 hours away. Are you sure you can do that? Are you sure you want to? You know, I was also got into Davis, which was a really strong like option as well because they had the same atmosphere, like small college town, like had a good vibe to me, and it was like closer to home. It was 2 hours. So my parents were like, you know, just go to Davis. You know more people there. It's the safer option, and they're really like starting to get convinced. And I was like, okay, maybe they're right. Like maybe I should go somewhere else where I feel like maybe it's more comfortable. But then I was like, you know what? I'm going to be the one at college. So I want to follow what I wanted to do. And I decided to obviously come to UCSB. And I don't get car sick, but like the whole way here, I was like, oh my God, I'm so car sick. I'm so nervous because I didn't know if I had made the right choice. And once I got here, I like smelled the ocean air and I was like, no, like I remember exactly why I came here. And like my favorite thing about UCSB is I'm not only just learning from like my professors and my TAs, but I'm learning from the students around me. I'm constantly like learning different things from different people's experiences. And I really appreciate the community, like Brenna said, like it's definitely really well rounded around here. And even going through things like imposter syndrome, like do I belong here? And like being first generation, like the people around me have always made me feel like I belong. And so like that was really important to me. I found like really amazing communities. So even through ups and downs, UCSB was definitely like the perfect choice for me. And like I never have regretted it. So yeah, like I got super like deep into that. But it's definitely like, you know, the experience is different for everyone, you know, and I definitely just recommend doing what feels right to you, for sure, because, you know, you will be the one at the university and whatnot. So yeah, that was basically kind of our tour. I'll stop sharing, and we have like a decent amount of time for questions if anyone wants to ask any questions. I think the chat is, oh, the chat. Yeah. Ryan, how do you want them to ask questions if they have any?
I'm gonna open up the chat right now, and so folks could chime in on some questions. Thank you so much, Brenda, Monica. That was an amazing tour. We truly appreciate you a lot. I'm gonna go ahead and open up the chat and get the questions going. Give me 1 second here. Let's see. All right. You could chat now. So if you have some questions you would like to throw in the chat to Brenna and Monica, please do. So the reason why I chose UC Santa Barbara, that was an awesome way, and it was great to hear from you. Being a formerly incarcerated student, coming, you know, from a lot of trauma, a lot of, you know, being in the inner city, you know, a gang involved background. I came to UC Santa Barbara for two reasons. One, it was peaceful, it had the ocean, and I have a lot of healing that I need to do. So I chose UC Santa Barbara because it was a perfect place to heal, to really find peace of mind and really uplift myself and be in a like almost like a slower style of living, you know? And also because there was no formerly incarcerated students here. So I felt that it was important because my dream school was Berkeley. Since I was in prison, I've been saying I'm gonna go to Berkeley. And when I got accepted to Berkeley, I had a choice, and that was my dream school. But I chose UC Santa Barbara because there was nothing here for formerly incarcerated students, and I felt like it was important for me to come in here and build that for the formerly incarcerated students and give them that opportunity to come here and get this peace and get this, you know, amazing experience to heal the internal trauma and also to uplift this community that we're in. It's a beautiful community. We got the ocean right here. We have it's amazing because you can look at the ocean and then turn around and look at the mountains. I've never been in a place like that. So that's like one of the reasons that I chose UC Santa Barbara. But the chat's open. I see there's a couple questions. Okay. What is study abroad all about? Brenna or Monica, you all want to chime in on that? Oh, okay. My bad. Excuse me. Here, and I'll open that up too. Let me see. Yeah, this is let's see here. Excuse me.
Yes, thank you for that. And I think Brenna needs to be unmuted as well.
I got her. Hold up. Let me 1 second.
Yes. So thank you, Ryan, for sharing your story with us. That's really amazing. The undergrad scholars do a lot for this university, so it definitely doesn't go unappreciated. Brenna, do you want to talk about what study abroad is all about?
Yeah. So there are actually over 400 programs, and all of them are slightly different. So I would recommend going to the UC Study Abroad website to go through them. But I'll just go over a couple of the different kinds of study abroad. So some of them you will be going to school in whatever country you go to with other American students who are at a UC school. And you'll be taking classes in English, and there'll be classes very similar to the classes you'll be taking here. You'll just be in another country, so in your free time, you can explore that other country. Some of them are language-based, so the majority of your classes you'll be taking. You can either do the beginning of a language, so example, in Paris, we have like an intro to French study abroad, so you're basically taking like French 1, 2, and 3 while you study abroad. And then we also had more advanced language programs where you already kind of know the language and you can go to the country where that language is spoken and you can take classes with the local students in that language. We also have internship study abroads, which is actually the one I was going to do, was an internship one. And that one, there was like one class you take and then you're in an internship. They like place you with a company or something, or a lot of the internships are like in government programs. And you do the internship, you write about it, and then you get a bunch of units. So they're all pretty diverse. There's so many different programs. So I definitely recommend checking out the website. I hope that answered your question. Do you have a more specific question or anything else I can cover? Okay, cool.
Yeah, that was awesome. And also, you can travel abroad and study abroad with the felony. You just got to get your passport. And they actually have passport services here at UCSB that will assist you in getting your passport and help you with that process right there. We're actually in the development stages of building a collaboration with the University of Guadalajara for formerly incarcerated students to go study abroad at the University of Guadalajara. So it's at the ground floor in talks right now, but we are definitely able to go and enjoy that amazing opportunity to study abroad. So definitely. I see. Is there any other questions up in the chat? And if you want to chime in, I've opened it up. We're all together as one right here. So if you would like to unmute yourself and ask a couple questions, that's fine too.
Thank you. That's really cool. I love Guadalajara. I'm actually from, like, my parents are from Jalisco, so that's really amazing. But yes, we had a question on how to deal with stress. I definitely like hang out with my friends. Like, hanging out with my friends is like such a good way to like feel at peace, or even if just stressing out together makes me feel better. I definitely got into candles a lot, so like burning a candle when I'm studying, and like I love to watch shows, so like I like to kind of get involved in their drama rather than focusing on like anything that's going on with me. That's kind of how I deal with stress. Brenna, how about you?
For me, I feel like my main way is going for walks, which isn't something I did before moving to Santa Barbara, but the beach is right there. And like, there's nothing like going on a walk on the beach that'll like calm you down and de-stress, and just like staring at the waves. And I see dolphins a lot. Like, it's not uncommon at all. And that will literally make my day to see a dolphin. So yeah, definitely going for walks along the beach.
For myself, me and my wife, we go jogging. So there's so many different places to jog right here. And also working out, there's so many different places you can just go work out, and you have like a beautiful scene around you to work out. So I've been working out with actually the homies on here too, Luis. We've been getting it right here at Family Housing. So that's a good way to de-stress. And also one thing for me is organizing, doing positive stuff for the community. That's important. And excuse my dog, he says hi to everyone too.
Thank you. Does anyone have any other questions? Y'all can unmute yourselves.
Yeah.
Okay, excuse me.
I had a question about so I'm kind of like with my major, I'm kind of like wondering, because I went to prison and I can't get my charge expunged. I can if I go through the governor and get certificate of rehabilitation, but I can't do that for 5 years. And I was wondering, like pursuing certain majors that require careers that require licensing, because it also affects licensing. So I just kind of was wondering what might be a good advice on a process of trying to figure out how to go about going through that expungement process and yeah.
That's awesome. Great. And that's a great question. And I'm so happy that you asked that. Right now, we're currently in the works with some policy work that we're doing. One of the policies that we're pushing forth right now is the Rising Murillo Free Act, where once you receive your bachelor's degree, your record is automatically pardoned. And so we got that in the works right now. It's being drawn out. We've approached the state capitol with this, and so we're definitely working hard. You're right, though. There is going to be, at this point in time, some certain fields that are unable to be tapped into. But honestly, if you work hard on your curriculum vitae, which is your resume, that could help you, because one thing that I've learned about college is it's not about everything that you're learning. It's about social capital. So it's about who you know. So when you're in these universities, I encourage all formerly incarcerated students to shake as many people's hands as possible, meet as many people as you can. And that's what's going to unlock your career opportunities later. So build your social capital up, get as many business cards as you can, even at the community college level, shake as many hands as possible and start building that curriculum vitae. Everything you're doing in college, document it. Coming to this event today, you all took part in this event, document it. That's gonna look good for you throughout the rest of your career and wherever you choose to take yourself. The sky's the limit. You know, yeah, there may be some restrictions because of our background, but we just got to advocate for ourselves to overcome those restrictions. And together as one, we can overcome anything. So lean into your community and know that we're fighting together as one, so that we don't have to deal with these restrictions. And, you know, Prop 17 just passed. You know, there's a lot of things that are going on that are for the best of us and for us to participate after we get these degrees too. So don't let anything hold you back, bro.
Awesome. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yo, if I could add to that real quick. By the way, my name is Joshua Solis. I'm here at UCSC. But first, I just want to comment on the study abroad. So study abroad, like, is my internet cool? I feel like I'm freezing up on my side. All right, cool. Study abroad, the way I see it for formerly incarcerated folks, is like a situation where if you've never been outside of California, and if the only way you've ever traveled is from prison to prison, this is an opportunity to get out and explore the world. You know what I'm saying? Like, just get out and venture out and just see what's out there. So that's definitely something you want to look into as soon as you get into the UC, and do it right away though, because it happens quick. So connect with the right folks as soon as you get in here. As far as the second question that you just had, Greg, CSU Fresno just had an event exactly on that question. And so there was an individual who had got done doing about like 5 years, got out and tried to get his license to sell life insurance, and they didn't want to give it to him. So there's this entire process, but I'm gonna go ahead and post Arnold's name and the link, so you get in contact with them and ask for that video. You can ask for that video, and all that information should be there about how that dude went through that process.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. Thank you, Joshua.
Yeah.
Thank y'all. And
Awesome.
Brennan and I can answer this last question because it's like 3 parts, and then we'll probably leave it to y'all because it's almost 11 and I don't want to interrupt your admissions
Okay,
section.
awesome. Thank you.
So what's the faculty like and how accessible are they outside of class? If you want to answer this one, Brenna.
Yeah, so they're definitely accessible because of the office hours that I touched on earlier. So all teachers have at least, I think, like 2 hours a week that their office is open for students to stop by and say hi. So they're kind of required to be accessible outside of class, and you can go and talk to them. And I find that a lot of the professors really enjoy this. Like, I had a roommate who went to office hours, and the professor was like, let's keep talking. Like, let me go buy you a coffee at the like coffee shop on campus. And yeah, I would definitely say that if you want to get to know your professor, it's easy to do because of these office hours.
Yeah. And some popular majors that we do have on campus. Sorry, did I interrupt you?
Oh, no, I'm just going to read the next question. So you got it.
The majors on campus, probably like communications is a popular one. Soc is definitely one. Biology. Let's see which other ones. Economics. Those are kind of like popular ones. But yeah, you can really just do whatever feels right to you, honestly. And then we go ahead.
All right. And then what makes your college unique? Do you want to go first, Monica?
I think it's the community. I do. I think it's like you can find so many different like people who are like so incredible and want to help the community, like for like Ryan, for example, like, you know, creating the space for underground scholars, right? And like I know like some other people who like made this intersectional feminist club, like they just built it from the ground up, literally starting last year, and now they're like really popping off. And like so like I think the community is like the most expensive, because I feel like a lot of students here care about the community and want to make it better. And you know, college isn't always easy, so these communities are really important. So I feel like our community is really unique in that sense.
Definitely. And it might be like a cheesy thing to say, but I feel like most of my learning here was outside of the classrooms with the other students, just like through their passions and the clubs that they're in and the things they're advocating for. I feel like I've grown more almost outside the classroom just by communicating with my fellow students.
Also, we have really crazy wildlife here. The birds are so loud.
The birds are so cool.
Definitely unique. So yeah,
we got an owl right here, but in family housing, and it hoots at night. Yeah, I've never owl hooting. You know what I'm saying? It's always homies hooting in the hood. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, definitely. Brenda, Monica, truly appreciate the tour. It was amazing. UC Santa Barbara is very unique. It's the only place that I've ever been in my life where you got to look out for bikes. You got to look both ways before you cross, you know what I'm saying? And it's also one of the first campuses to have a skateboard where you can skate through the middle of campus. So it has its own designated area for skateboarding the class. So there's so many unique things about this campus. But truly appreciate you both. We're gonna go ahead and transition now over to our admissions. So I'm gonna go ahead and open up to Melissa, and I'm gonna go ahead and make them host. And thank you so much, Monica.
Yeah,
thank you.
Thank you, Monica. Thank you, Brenda.
Thank you.
Okay, and I just transitioned it over to Melissa. She's gonna take over from here. The chat is open, so if you guys wanna, throw questions, conversate, please, please don't hesitate. Thank you. I'm gonna step on back.
Yeah, hi, good morning, everyone. Nice to be here. My name is Melissa Chavez. I'm the Assistant Director for Transfer Services at UCSB's Admissions Office. I've been working really closely with Ryan, and we're trying to get more underground scholars at UCSB. A little bit about myself, I've been working at UCSB for 9 years now. Originally from Santa Maria, California, so I know some of you are sitting at Hancock, so yay, Santa Maria. I was also system impacted when I was a kid. My dad was incarcerated. So I truly believe that education has a lot of benefits for students, and it opens a lot of doors. And I'm super glad I found out about this Project Rebound, because I'm going to be doing some more research on that myself so that I can better answer some of those questions as transfer students are asking me questions about careers, majors, all that good stuff. I have a good presentation here. I'm going to cover some information about what it takes to be admitted to the University of California. Some of the information is going to be specific to UCSB, but the good thing about the transfer process for the University of California is that all the UCs are looking for the same basic criteria. What's going to vary is your GPA and the major preparation. So I'll try to highlight those things. So I do have a ton of info to cover, so we'll go ahead and get started. Type questions into the chat box, because I'll be able to see when someone has a question. But I understand that we have students from SBCC and Hancock here today, and if anyone else is here, welcome. So UCC, we're a really great school. I really, truly love working here. I think that the people are awesome, the faculty are awesome, and it's a very strong collaborative community. Community is one of those big words that kind of sticks out to me in terms of UCSB, and Brenda and Monica did a really great job kind of mentioning that, like in terms of resources and what we have to offer. And it's a beautiful place, because a lot of people often think, oh, Santa Barbara is expensive, and it is expensive, but there are ways to be connected and to build space and build community and really change the world. There's so many positive things that are happening in this world. There's a lot of negative things, right? But there's also a lot of positives. So it's always good to see that and build from that, and find ways to collaborate together. So UCSB is undergraduate focused, and I know that they mentioned this on the tour. We are undergrad focused, and you as a transfer student are going to be an undergraduate student, because you're going to be working towards that bachelor's degree in order to move on to either a career or to maybe graduate study to get your master's, PhD. Sky's the limit. We're the #6 public school in the United States. That's a US News and World Report ranking. But within that top 10, you're going to find UC Berkeley, UCLA, Irvine, San Diego, I think. And even within like the top 50, you'll find almost all of the UC campuses. So UCs are pretty awesome. At UCSB, we have 3 colleges. The girls kind of mentioned this a little bit earlier. College of Letters and Science, College of Engineering, and then the College of Creative Studies. College of Letters and Science has 80 majors, and it's kind of like a liberal arts degree where, if you think of it as a pie, 1/3 of it is your major, 1/3 is general ed, and 1/3 is elective. So as a transfer student, you'll come in with roughly half of that done, and then you'll have the other half to finish your major and take some elective units, maybe finish some GEs. It just kind of depends on your situation. Majors from like anthropology to zoology and history and political science, all that good stuff. Engineering, smallest engineering program, and I'll be honest with you, probably the most competitive engineering program. So this one's tough to get into for any student because it's a small program with about 1,500 students total in those 5 majors: chemical, computer, electrical, mechanical, and computer science. So that one, it's a great program, but it's tough to get into because it's so tiny. They look to enroll a small number of students every year. And then the last college is the College of Creative Studies. So 8 majors: art, chemistry, biochemistry, biology, physics, math, computing, writing and literature, and music composition. And creative studies is focused on students creating their own original work, so research. Research is a huge part of the UC system, but research is not required. You don't have to be involved in research, but I always tell students that research can be anything that you want. You ask a question, you want to find information, that's your research project right there. So literally anything that you can think of is research. So I always encourage students to be involved in that. So those are the 3 majors, 3 colleges at UCSB. Let's talk about eligibility, okay? First is the 7 course pattern. So most UC campuses are going to be admitting junior level transfer students. So this means that you need to have a certain number of units to come in as a junior. There are 3 UC campuses that will sometimes admit for lower division transfers or sophomore transfers, and that's UC Merced, UC Riverside, and UC Santa Cruz. So those 3 campuses. And those 3 campuses will also sometimes admit for spring terms. The rest of us are really only looking for juniors for the fall term only, okay? Juniors fall term only. The eligibility criteria, we'll start off with the 7 course patterns. So 7 courses is what we're gonna look for in the UC application. We're gonna be like, all right, you need to have these particular courses. Oh, I don't know what I clicked a button on here. So hopefully that didn't mess up my slideshow here. I'm trying to get to the chat because I saw it popped up. Okay, cool. UC transfer eligibility. So 7 course patterns. First and foremost, you need to have 2 courses in English composition, okay? 2 courses in English composition. And all of these requirements you can have met with coursework that you completed while you were incarcerated, especially if they were coming from a California community college. And then if you need to finish any requirements, you can do so at a California community college or any school really. But the California community colleges are the best really because they're cheaper and you have for sure transferability of your courses. So 2 courses in English composition. At least 1 course in math that is something like statistics, pre-calc, or college algebra. That's like the 3 basic ones. Or if you had advanced math like calculus, that's also cool, but you need to have at least 1 math for eligibility. And then you need 4 courses from at least 2 of the following 3 areas: arts and humanities, so classes in like art, theater, humanities, history. Those are all types of humanities, arts and humanities types disciplines. Social and behavioral sciences, economics, sometimes history. History is actually one that can fall between humanities and social sciences, so it just kind of depends. Sociology, political science, those are type of disciplines that fall under social and behavioral sciences. And then physical and biological sciences, so biology, chemistry, geology, geography, all those sciencey type stuff, that falls under physical and biosciences. So you need to have 4 courses from at least 2 of those 3 areas. So you can have 2 history courses and 1 bio and 1 art course, right? Because as long as you're meeting 2 areas, you're good. let's say you had 3 sociology courses, you need to have something outside of the social behavioral sciences, so maybe like an art class. As long as these are all UC transferable, you are all set. Next is units, 60 semester units of UC transferable credit. This puts you at junior standing. So you have until the spring term before you transfer to meet the requirements. So when you apply, you might not have everything done because we look at everything that you've completed, everything that you have in progress, and then everything that you have planned in order to evaluate your application for admission. Okay, so 60 semester units. We'll allow up to 14 semester of past units to reach the 60 that you need. But if you were enrolled in classes during winter, spring, or summer 2020, those are now considered pandemic terms. And a lot of community colleges made all students take pass, no pass type grading. So we don't want to, we're trying to not build barriers, right? So because of that, those 3 terms, you can have as many pass units as you need in order to meet eligibility. So those 3 terms are super flexible. So 7 courses, 60 semesters. So these 7 courses, you're like, all right, cool, Melissa, so that doesn't add up to 60 semester units. So what else am I taking? You're taking classes in general ed or courses in your major. So you have to apply to a specific major when you're a transfer student. Major preparation is going to vary by campus and by major. Typically, students already have an idea. Like if you know you want to be a teacher or you want to go into business of some sort, you want to be an entrepreneur, you want to have your own business, you might have an idea of what you want to study already. And you'll look at which UC campuses have those types of degrees. GPA, I would say minimum that you need to apply to the University of California as a California resident is a 2.4. 2.8 if you're a non-resident. But most UC campuses are going to be looking for a 3.0 and above. So I always recommend 3.0 and above. Those are B's. B's in your classes. If you can get some A's, awesome. But your academics tell part of the story, and I'll talk about the other part of the story in a little bit in a couple of slides. But most of the UC campuses are going to say for sure try to have a 3.0 and above. That's going to put you in what's called the competitive range for admission. Some majors might require a higher GPA for like selection purposes. So what selection means is that when we receive more applications than we have space, we have to look at higher levels of selection. So like things that are going to make students a little bit more competitive. All right, cool. One thing that I wanted to mention before I go into a lot more like nitty-gritty details is that there is something called a transfer admission guarantee at the University of California. Basically, this states that if you meet very specific requirements, you can guarantee your transfer to one UC campus, but there are only 6 UC campuses that participate in the program. Davis, Merced, Santa Cruz, Santa Barbara, Riverside, and Irvine. We are the 6 campuses that participate in this transfer admission guarantee. If you meet the requirements from any of those 6, you have a guaranteed transfer. There's a ton more details that are associated with the tag, but I always like to highlight this because every single student should submit a tag to the UC campuses because you'll guarantee your spot at one of the 6 campuses. So Berkeley, LA, and San Diego don't participate in this, and that's totally okay because you can still be a UC student at any of those other 6. The GPA is going to range by campuses. So at UCSB it's a 3.4, which us and Irvine, we're the ones that have the highest GPA. But like Riverside and Merced, Santa Cruz, they might have GPAs that will be like a 2.8 and above. So tons and tons of options within the UC system. All right, so at UCSB, here are the majors that require major preparation. Okay, so when it comes to major preparation, the courses that you're needing for whatever major you want, it's always going to come down to, is it required versus is it recommended? If it's required, it has to be done before you transfer. If it's recommended, we really want you to have it done before you transfer, but it doesn't necessarily impact your admission because it's not a requirement. But as a transfer student, your academics are your top priority. So your major prep is something that we, no matter what, are always going to ask you to focus on because it helps you so many different ways. It helps you once you get to UC, take upper division courses, the courses that you'll need to graduate in your major, meet unit requirements, all of that good stuff. Trust me when I say it makes things a lot easier if you have major prep done before you transfer. Also, it's way cheaper to take these courses at your community college. So you want to save money as much as possible. Being a transfer student really is one of the best ways to be able to do that. So at the College of Letters and Science, we have biosciences, math, economics, and then starting for fall 2022, physics are the ones that require major prep, okay? College of Engineering, all of them require major prep, so chemical, mechanical, electrical, computer engineering, and then computer science. And then the College of Creative Studies, all of the majors actually recommend major prep, but the most important thing that we look, or that, not we, the College of Creative Studies looks at for transfer admission is a supplemental application that you have to submit with the UC application. So the supplemental app basically says, if you want to study this major, you got to tell us why you want to study that major. What can you bring to the table? What experiences have you had? Why do you have this particular interest? So it's a little bit more specific, kind of like a graduate school. So like this is the type of work that students that are getting a master's and a PhD are doing, but at the undergraduate level to get their bachelor's. So it's a pretty cool opportunity for students. But because it's so unique, it's a very small program, about 400 students total. That supplemental application is super important. It goes through a faculty review, and the faculty members, they make their recommendations, and then they let us know in the admissions office, and they say, hey, this student is good for this major, and we just make sure they meet eligibility and they get into that program. So really cool, unique opportunities. I want to talk about resources because community, again, is really important at UCSB. When it comes to the entire process that you're applying or getting ready to apply, our office is ready to help. So I coordinate all of the outreach for all the transfer students, and I have a team of 3 counselors, Adra, Buster, Colin, and the 4 of us for the transfer team. We have a dedicated admissions counselor at every single community college. At Hancock, that's Buster. At Santa Barbara City College, that's Adra. But myself, all of us, we're available to help. So as you're navigating the process, we should be your point of reference, your point of contact for any admissions related questions. Once you're applying, once you're in the applicant pool, we'll send you reminders to make sure that you apply for financial aid using the FAFSA or the DREAM Act. Because we are, the University of California as a public school is going to be focused on giving financial aid to California residents with financial need. So we really want to make sure that we are there to support you. Underground Scholars, Ryan, and everyone else who supports students, this is a great program. And look at this awesome event that he put together for us. A lot of support. He knows a lot more information about transition programs and even that question about, licensure and all that stuff. So Underground Scholars is always going to be a support program that actually is going to help you as you're applying, but also once you're at UC, because it's that familial type network. Summer sessions is one for if you're admitted. We always encourage students to start taking classes early, so our summer program would be a good option for you all. Okay, let's say you're admitted and you choose to come to UCSB. Orientation is a really important program because it kind of helps you navigate what's next and what you need to be doing in terms of, this is how you register for classes, this is how you talk to your advisors, all that good stuff. Then there's a Transfer Student Center. A Transfer Student Center is a dedicated space for all transfer students. The entire campus is transfer friendly. All the resources are available for transfer students, but this center is focused specifically on the transfer student experience, making sure that they have what they need to succeed at UCSB. Then we also have the Educational Opportunity Program, EOP. I'm going to mention how you apply to this program because it's something that you apply when you apply to the university. But EOP is a program for first-generation college students, oftentimes coming from low-income backgrounds. EOP is an awesome program. All UC campuses, I think with the exception of Merced, have an EOP type of program. Merced doesn't have it because they're such a small school that almost everyone on their campus qualifies for EOP, fun fact. So any of these UC campuses that you choose to apply to will have this program or a type of program that will help you. Mentoring, they have sometimes emergency financial aid options, counselors that help you out that are sensitive to the needs of students. So it's a really, really great program. And then in terms of academics, so when you're at UCs, you're going to have different types of advisors. So your college advisor is always going to help you navigate graduation requirements and what you need to graduate. So the university requirements. And then your major advisor is going to be the one that will help you figure out what you need in order to graduate with your major. Okay. Then there's also going to be other types of support programs like pre-health, pre-law, if anyone's thinking of, those types of careers. And student networks, I think, are also very important. So there's ways to be involved in student organizations that are focused on social, religious, political, spiritual, for fun. And that network is also really important. I know Ryan mentioned this earlier. Shake hands, build that network. It's super important because the people that you're going to school with, they could be the next CEO of these awesome companies, and they're hiring and they're giving opportunities to people, and having that bond as a college student and that experience speaks volumes and really helps students a lot. So with the transfer process, it's one of those processes that actually takes place, or it starts right when you start taking classes at community college. If you've been taking them while you've been incarcerated, it started a long time ago. It started last week, started whenever. It started right now. If you decide that you're like, all right, cool, Melissa, you convinced me I'm going to apply to UC. This process begins whenever you are ready for it. But when you actually are ready to apply, you're going to apply about a year in advance. So all of your requirements that I mentioned before, you have to have those done by the spring term before you transfer. So if you're applying for, let's say, fall 2021, so that's next year, you would have to have all of the requirements done by spring 2021, okay? But you apply about a year in advance. The UC applications always due in November, the year before you want to transfer. And we evaluate your application using self-reported information, everything that you have in progress, everything that you have completed, and then what you have planned for that last spring term. Okay, and it's an online application, so apply.universityofcalifornia.edu. All of your information is self-reported. Some of these screenshots are going to be too tiny. You won't be able to read them, but I kind of wanted to point out some of the big things on the UC application. It's really, really helpful that you have your transcripts in front of you so that you enter your academic information accurately. So if you took classes with Coastline College or whatever college you were taking classes from, and now you're enrolled at Santa Barbara City College in Hancock, we need to see all of that information. So it all has to come together on this UC application. Financial information from the UC application is going to be used to calculate your eligibility for the fee waiver. It does cost money to apply, but if you qualify for the fee waiver, you can apply to 4 campuses for free. So it's usually a $70 per campus fee. You get that fee waiver, you can apply to 4 for free. So you'll choose your UC campuses and you'll choose the major that you want. So again, you're applying as a junior transfer. This question on the application sometimes gets students confused because they're like, what if I'm going to have way more units than 90 than 60 to 89? You always apply as a junior transfer, even if you're going to have more than those units, because the way that we calculate units is gonna vary. So we don't want to confuse you. Just make sure you apply as a junior transfer. You'll add all of the colleges that you attended. If you attended schools outside of California, go ahead and add those as well. You need to report everything because we always are going to evaluate all of those academic records to be able to give you credit for anything that you have completed, as long as we see it as UC transferable. So you'll choose colleges in California, outside of California. The cool thing about going to California community colleges is that all of this information is pre-populated. So this application is smart. It knows that we have agreements. Everything is really straightforward if you're coming from a California community college. So if you enter, I'm coming from Hancock College, I'm coming from SBCC, it'll preload a lot of information. It'll make it a little bit easier for you. You'll select your major. So all of the UC campuses you apply to, you have to pick a first choice major, and some UCs will let you pick a second choice, an alternate major. I think everyone except Berkeley allows an alternate major. That's just because Berkeley is going to only evaluate you for that first choice. But for all the other ones, we're going to evaluate you for your first choice. And if you're not eligible for that first choice, then we'll look at that second choice. But that first choice should be the one you really, really want, okay? If you apply to UC San Diego, you'll also have to rank your colleges. They have 7 colleges now, 7 colleges. You'll have to rank them in order of preference, which one you'd want to be involved in. Okay, cool, we'll keep going. So you'll enter your courses. So once you say, I've been a student at Hancock College or Santa Barbara City College from spring of 2017 to my last term is going to be next spring. So spring of 2021, Then the application will ask you which terms do you want to report coursework in. So you'll just check the box, say like, oh, I have courses to report this term, this term, this term. If you ever took a break, you'll have to report gaps in education. So your simple, straightforward explanation, I was working full time to support my family, or whatever the case may be, just make sure that you explain any gaps in education. The application will also ask for high school completion or the high school that you attended. It does not necessarily have to be high school completion. It could also be a GED. It could also be, there's some other exam that I forget what it's called. It's the acronym is CHESP. I forget what it actually stands for, but we look at that because then we want to know, okay, if you were going to complete high school this year, we want to know what you've been doing during that other time. So if there were gaps in education while you were incarcerated, just go ahead and say that I was incarcerated. But if you were taking classes while you were incarcerated, that would show up in your academic record, or we would want you to make sure that you enter that information there. Okay, cool. So everything that you're taking right now, if you're a student right now, all of your coursework will be in progress because you don't have grades yet. And then anything that you have planned for the winter and or spring, I think some schools might have a winter intersession, just make sure that you mark them as planned, PL. It gives you that option on the application. Once you enter all the academic information, this right here just kind of gives you an idea of the different steps of the UC application. So this academic history is kind of what I've been focusing mostly on because it's the most important thing for transfer students. We'll check for minimum requirements here. So this is why when I started my application, I talked about the 7-course pattern, I talked about units and GPA, because the application right here is going to make sure that you're meeting those minimum requirements. So this question right here, entry-level writing requirement, go ahead and say yes, because if you took classes at community college and you have 2 courses in English comp, it's a yes. If you've been following IGETC, the Intersegmental General Education Transfer Curriculum, IGETC for short, go ahead and say yes, no here. That's where you can indicate that. The English requirement. So like I said, the application will check, have you met UCE? Have you met the math requirement as well? So here you could just say you've completed it. So sometimes it will say, this application sometimes has issues, like if you had an AP exam. I don't know if any of you had an AP exam, but if you had an AP exam to meet one of those English requirements, you would just say you don't have a second course planned. But because the application is smart, if you've taken your classes at community colleges, in California, it'll populate the courses that are meeting English. So it'll say you took English 101 and you took English 102, you're good. And you'll just continue. And then it'll do the same check for math as well. Okay, cool. If for some reason the application does not recognize that you have English and math done, you can designate it on the application itself. So you can say I have it in progress or I have it completed, and you can enter the course, the department number, department, course number, and then the course title. And then this part right here, college, university courses, and other areas, you could just say you completed with a grade of C or better. If it's all community college courses, it'll probably say, based off of the information you've provided, you meet this requirement, continue with your application. This additional comments box is super important. I always like to highlight it a lot for transfer students, but this is where students can have the opportunity to explain anything in their academic history that has impacted them, that has influenced them, anything. So this is your educational academic journey. So this is everything that you've done. So this is a good opportunity for you to say, if you were taking classes while you were incarcerated, mention that here. You could talk about your educational journey after, you were released, and say, hey, this is my process. This is my train of thought. This is why I'm motivated and I want to pursue higher ed, all that good stuff. Explain it here in the academic history section. Because when we evaluate your application for admission, this is what we'll also see in the academic history. So always provide context, as much detail as possible. Very, 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 very important. You have up to 550 characters to explain anything there. The next section of the application that I want to mention, because all of this stuff you'll have to fill out. So if you had test scores that you wanted to report, or if you had activities and awards, go ahead and fill that out. It's pretty straightforward, just asking you, what you've been involved in, all that good stuff. But this scholarship and programs, I really want you all to make sure that you maximize this part of the application so that you're able to be considered for as many scholarships as possible within the UC system, okay? And this in connection to making sure you apply for financial aid with that FAFSA or the DREAM Act is really, really important. Let's see what else. Okay, I mentioned EOP earlier, Educational Opportunity Program. This is where on the application you will apply for this program. All you have to do is check the box, and then you have to type, you have 240 characters to say why you want to be part of that program. Very, very straightforward. So to qualify, you have to be first gen and income eligible. And first gen means that you're going to be the first person in your family to go to college. That's what first generation means, or at least first generation in the context of education. All right, so the last thing that I'm going to mention in terms of the UC application are the personal insight questions. So the UC requires 4 short answer responses in their UC application. One of them is connected to your major, what you've been doing, what you've been studying, how have you been preparing for your major. That was a super, super important one for transfer students because, again, academics are number one. And then you have 3 other questions to answer from 7 choices. Those 3 questions, you have the choice, you know, pick those 3 that, you know, that you say, like, you know what, this is where I can shine. This is not the time to be humble. This is a time to show off, to say, here are my accomplishments. This is what I can contribute to the university community, your experiences, all of that good stuff. It's super, super important. Now, being 100% honest with you, the campuses that are going to look at the personal insight questions the most include UC Berkeley, UCLA, and other campuses in certain programs. And I'll tell you why. Those 2 campuses, Berkeley and LA, they are the most competitive schools. UCLA has the most applications than any school in like anywhere, I think. So they have to rely on this information to be able to make sure that they're looking at the entire applicant pool and trying to find ways to make sure that they're diversifying their students in a way that's legal, of course, because, you know, Prop 209 and all that. And they want to just, you know, they want to hear student stories, and they want to make sure that, again, they're finding those students that are going to contribute to the campus community. A lot of the other campuses, like Merced, like Santa Barbara, like Santa Cruz, we are not as competitive at as those schools. And not that we're not fighting for the students, but that it's just that we don't have that high level of selection. Like our students, we have students that we admit with a 3.0, right? Not everyone is going to have a 4.0. So because of that, we're always going to still be able to admit our students using primarily academic information. So that's why this last section, this academic history, oh my gosh, 2 more, additional comment section is super, super important, because this right here is probably really, really important for those campuses that don't necessarily rely on the personal insight questions, okay? So this is a good opportunity to make sure that, one, here, additional comments, you use that to appeal to the UC campuses that are not as selective. And then your personal insight questions are the ones that you're filling out if you're considering Berkeley and LA, okay? That makes sense? It's just, I always like to be 100% positive because, and honest, because we don't have time to play games. We gotta be straightforward here. We're trying to make sure that you're prepared as possible. Once you fill everything out, you'll be able to review and submit. So the deadline's always November 30th. Your fee waiver is automatically calculated, and then you'll know that you submitted your application successfully when you have been asked to provide payment, if it's a fee waiver or if you're paying on your own, and then you receive an application ID and an email confirmation when you submit the application. Have a couple of resources. Whew. All right, cool. Now we have some time for questions, and then Flaco, I don't know if you want to add anything, maybe your experience writing personal insight questions, all that good stuff.
I mean, amazing. Thank you so much, Melissa. Like, you were so, you said it all perfect. And, you know, we appreciate you taking the time out of your day to give us. If anyone has any questions, go ahead and chime in. And then we have a special guest speaker that's also going to talk about a very special program that's for Promise Scholars, like the underground scholars who are on their way here. So we have the Promise Scholars director who's up next. But please chime in on any questions while we have Melissa here.
Yeah, please. And then I'm going to actually type up my email here so that you have it. And then, if you want to, I'm going to stop sharing this. If you want to join our mailing list as well, like if you want to receive emails from our campus, there's this weird link. I promise you it's legit link, but this is how you can sign up for our mailing list to show that you attended today's presentation. And yeah, I mean, feel free to reach out with any questions. Like I said, I'm very passionate in making sure that students have an opportunity to succeed. If it's Santa Barbara, amazing. If it's not, I have tons of, I'm not showing off, I have tons of friends. I've been working in UC admissions for so long that I have contacts at every UC. And I know that I can connect you all with any of those people that work there, and they're going to be able to support you in a way that you may not necessarily get. Plus, there's undergrad scholars programs at other UC campuses as well. How long does it usually take to get a response for acceptance? So that's a good question. So the good question for the timeline. So you submit your application in November. We will ask you to update, or the UC application, some automated message is going to email you in January to say, fill out your final fall grades and make updates to your spring schedule. So the deadline for that priority deadline is January 31st. So once that deadline passes, all the UC campuses are going to start reviewing transfer applications. And most UC campuses are reviewing applications, so February, March, April. Most will start releasing decisions in March and April. All UC campuses have to get back to students by May 1. So that's a UC system-wide deadline that we have. You'll hear back for sure by May 1, and because you have until June 1 to make a decision. Cool.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Cool.
Does anybody else have any questions or anything?
So I won't be seeing Melissa or talk to her until like I get some credit or start school here first, and because I'm currently going to Allen Hancock B, but like I just heard that that would take a while, so I'm first gonna go ahead and finish up and wrap over here with Allen Hancock for, at least for a year, and my main goal is go to SB, and I'll be talking to Melissa pretty soon, and like in a year.
Sounds good, Andy. Reach out to us as soon as you're ready to start talking about it, because we're happy to help.
Awesome, definitely. Thank you so much. And then so next we have the Promise Scholars Director, Holly Roos. She's going to be going over the Promise Scholars, and that's an amazing program that's really assisted us underground scholars that are here now. So I'm going to go ahead and pass that over to her now. Thank you so much.
Hi, everybody.
We appreciate you.
That was a lot of information. I would be utterly fucking confused right now. But it's great. And her presentation was fantastic, and she's incredibly wonderful and helpful. So don't be shy. Like, make sure that you reach out to Melissa if you need her. She's here for you. So I am also here. So I am the director of the Promise Scholars program here at UCSB. The Promise Scholars program is geared towards helping first generation, low income and underrepresented students in higher education graduate from college and go on to do great things. We currently have about 500 scholars in the program. We have two components to the program. One component is the funding component. So as transfer students, you would receive $60,000 in grants and scholarships as part of the Promise Scholars program, and that includes your Pell Grant, your Cal Grant, and then also the Promise Scholarship, which usually comes to about maybe $1,000 or a little bit over every quarter to help assist you with the extra expenses of being in Santa Barbara. The other aspect of the program is the wraparound services that we provide. So basically anything that you would ever need, you would just come and ask me for it, and if we can get it, we will. There's typically a solution to every problem, and sometimes we have to be innovative in trying to figure out what that solution is, but we can usually reach it. To be in the program, you would need to be admitted to UCSB, and once you're admitted, you would want to reach out to me and let me know that you are admitted, that you're a formerly incarcerated student, transfer student coming into the university, and then what I would need to do is just run a check on your financial aid, make sure that you fill out your FAFSA, make sure you fit the criteria in terms of income level for the Promise Scholars program, and then we would have an interview process, and through that process, after that interview process, we would determine if you're a good fit for the Promise Scholars program. But we're very excited to grow our program, and especially like, you know, the formerly incarcerated student program we're extremely excited about. We have 5 students as part of that sort of program now. Ryan is awesome. He's our mentor for all the students coming in. He lived the nightmare of trying to navigate this university, which is it's insane. I mean, there's like financial aid and BARC and billing and Gaucho space and gold and like 20 million different portals. It's literally the most confusing place on earth. So if you are able to come in, you know, I highly recommend you try to get into our program, because then at least you have someone you can text or call. I'm available to our students 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So I don't take time off. There's no time for time off when you're dealing with students in crisis, you know. And our students are, you know, they are typically first generation, and they all are extreme low income. So navigating something as complex as UCSB is a challenge. And so we deal with those challenges all the time.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Holly. We truly appreciate the Promise Scholars and everything you're doing for us formerly incarcerated students here at UCSB. Does anyone have any questions? Holly Roos did put her email in there as well. Please, take all these emails down. These are, you know, a part of your social capital gain today. So, you know, definitely reach out to them. They're a huge help, and they'll help you navigate through all the obstacles that may come up along the way. Does anybody else have any questions?
Yeah, it's hard to come up with questions when you haven't been admitted yet and you're still kind of in the process of doing everything. So that's perfectly okay. I can absolutely, you know, answer questions at any time. You know, in addition to, you know, the funding and wraparound services and things like that, just so you have fair warning, you would have to sign a contract, which means I'm going to be the most invasive, annoying person in your life for like 2, possibly 3 years that you're at UCSB. I probably know all your teachers, so if something's going on in class, I'm probably going to email them and find out what we can do to like improve. I mean, I'm pretty annoying. So that's another thing you should probably consider. Maybe it's not worth the money.
Also, something amazing though is time management. Would you talk about time management with them? Just about the quarter transition and how time management works?
Yeah, so typically, if you're coming from a community college, you're coming from a semester system. And when you come here to the quarter system, it can be extremely challenging. It's, you know, any student, I mean, transferring here, it's just confusing. It moves really, really fast. The major that you might be in, I'll give an example, like communications, or, you know, some other major like poli-sci or something like that. You might be enjoying that in your community college, but it looks extremely different here. And the challenges are huge. And a lot of times, you know, the faculty can feel kind of cold, because in reality, like the faculty here, this is a Research One university, so they don't get hired or get promoted based on their teaching ability, right? They get hired and promoted based on what they publish, and they get hired based on their research. And that's typically what a lot of them care about, and that's just the reality. So, you know, if you come in and you're struggling and you can't figure it out, they're not going to hold your hand, or, you know, they're just going to be like, okay, there's another one. You shouldn't be here then, you know, that can be how it is. And so a lot of times when I'm working with students that are coming in, I'll basically put them on like mandatory time management. So you would have to meet with me 30 minutes every week for your first 10 weeks here. And we would set a study schedule. We would set an agenda. So we'd put in like all your midterms, essays, quizzes, everything that can't be changed or moved from the first week to the end of the quarter. And then we would meet every week and work in those spaces in between all those assignments to figure out, okay, what are we going to read? What are we going to, you know, when is this paper due? When are we going to start the paper? And then I can also, that allows me to do a lot of things. That's actually probably the most successful component of our program, and the reason why we graduate our students at such explosively high rates compared to the rest of the campus with a higher GPA, because that gives me an opportunity to see you every week. Typically, you know, Especially, you know, as a transfer student, you know, you've been through some shit in your life, and the last thing you're going to do is ask for help necessarily when you need it. And so if I'm talking to you and I find out something's going on, or I get a sense that we're about to get derailed, then I can, you know, work with all my connections and networks on campus to make sure that that doesn't happen. So like an example would be like last year, I had a student who came in and we were just, you know, going over the schedule and everything. And she just offhandedly was like, oh yeah, my parents moved to Nevada last week and blah, blah, blah. And I'm thinking like, who the fuck moves to Nevada on purpose? Like, that's a desert. It's in the middle of nowhere. There's not even an ocean there, you know? So I'm like, wait, hold up. Why did your parents move to Nevada? And she's like, oh, they're homeless now. And I'm like, fuck. So now I know we're going to have to get, I know she's going to be sending her financial aid home. I know she's going to travel a lot on the weekends to try to go home and be with her family. I know that she's going to be suffering mental health issues because, you know, our students feel really guilty that they get to be here in this beautiful campus and they have 3 meals a day and they have a roof over their heads, and their siblings a lot of times don't. So those kinds of things I know we're going to have to rush and get control of. We may even have to yank that student out for the quarter and make sure that they exit well and come back in well, or whatever it is that we need to do. We can talk about that. And so that's kind of what time management does. It's incredibly invasive, but it gets the job done. And the goal is to do whatever it is that you want to do after college, right? Like, college isn't the goal, it's the degree so that you can go on and have your goals, you know, if that makes sense.
Makes total sense. Thank you so much. Anyone have any questions or anything for Holly?
Yeah, I do. This is Cheech. Yeah, Molly, I wish you were my parole officer. I wouldn't have went back to prison. Yeah,
actually, one of my students' boyfriends calls me her academic parole officer, which is kind of fun.
That's so cool, eh? You know, man, if we could implement that at Anaheim College, man, I would have been out of there a long time ago. I have no clue how to manage my time.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to be here. If you want help, you know, just email me and I'll put your ass on time management quick. I work with a lot of students, and like one of the things about our office too is we don't ever turn any student away for any reason. So, you know, I work with students who aren't promised scholars. Because time management was so successful, we actually ended up, I volunteer my time at nights, and I teach a class called INT 10, which has a mandatory time management component for students who aren't promised scholars, because everyone deserves a chance to, you know, to do well and graduate and have somebody there if they're in the wrong major, you know, to tell them like, you're in the wrong major. Like, what are you doing? Go do something else. You don't have to be a bio major to be a doctor. You don't have to be, you know, a poli-sci major to be a lawyer. Like, this idea that your degree must equal your career is insane, right? So, yeah. Sorry, Chief. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, that's cool. Thank you so much. I took a picture of your email, so I'm going to get at you because I need some discipline.
Let's do it.
I'm off parole now, so I don't got nobody babysitting me. And yeah, I need that. And to be honest with you, you know, and second of all, Flaco, un chingo de gracias for all you do, homeboy. Like I said, you and Gilbert are one of the reasons why I'm going either to UCSB or to Berkeley. 2 years ago, I took a tour to UCSB and I scratched you guys off my list because there was no help. There was no help. And now that Underground Scholars is there, I've changed my mind. I'm pursuing higher education and you know, doctor in front of Mr. Regoza sounds pretty nice. So, you know, gracias for all you do, homeboy.
That's what's up, Cheech. We appreciate you. And also to let everyone know, we have the Underground Scholars Ambassador Program. And we have our ambassador, Lysandra, rising at SBCC. And we have Cheech Regosa up there at Allen Hancock. And they're both our ambassadors doing amazing work. And so if you have any questions about Underground Scholars, or you just want to be involved in the policy work and just everything that we're about, you know, reach out to them. If they could put their emails in there as well. We truly appreciate all the amazing work and all the community work and just everything that's going on that everyone's doing with the formerly incarcerated individuals. So we're going to shift now. If nobody has any more questions for Holly, Her email is in the chat. So if you would like to reach out to her on the side and get some time management going, time management has been the greatest thing I've been on here. I got a 4.0. I get A pluses. I think I got A minus one time. But yeah, we're styling and profiling over here. We've been here about a year, and we've been really working hard to establish the Underground Scholars Program here at UCSB, and it's just expanding and evolving into something special here on this campus. And this event shows that. We got, Holly, we got important faculty, we got administration, and we got the students who believe in us and believe in the work that we're doing. And they're all hands on deck trying to really uplift us out of the recidivism factory that exists in our communities. And so together as one, we'll end mass incarceration. A little bit about myself. I got out of prison 5 years ago. I walked out of New Folsom State Prison, level 4 maximum security. I had started my classes in New Folsom State Prison after a brutal prison ride and after the 2013 hunger strikes. We starved ourselves for days to get college courses, and that's all we really wanted was just rehabilitative services, and we were willing to die for it. And so after that, I took these college units, didn't know what they were about, but I was just tired of watching Jerry Springer reruns and Cheaters reruns and Cops reruns. And I was tired of watching all this stuff on my TV, and I called it crap TV because it was negative, and I had this bad attitude after I'd watched this stuff, and I started to study, taught myself how to write, and was a poet and didn't even know it, and I started writing, and I started learning algebra, and I started to teach myself my times tables, and I started to elevate. And when I got out of prison, I went to San Diego Community College, and I started to learn activism. I didn't know what activism was. I didn't know what social justice was, but I started to learn social justice and at San Diego Community College. And then I created the Urban Scholars Union along with other formerly incarcerated students. And the next thing I know, I'm at UCSB now. I worked hard in my classes, and I had the Underground Scholars there. The Underground Scholars were there every single step of the way. When I first got out of prison, they actually flew down to San Diego, and they actually sat down with me and bought me my first Frappuccino. And we talked about this prison to school pipeline. Now, I was a prison to school pipeline. What is that? And they were like, well, look, like you're getting out of prison, you go into school right here at the community college, and from there we'll get you into Berkeley. And sure enough, they got me into Berkeley, and I had the opportunity to go to Berkeley, but I also had the opportunity to deny Berkeley as well. And I denied them. I'm over here at the best school in the world, which is UCSB. So, if you have any questions about everything that you heard today, please, chime in. The mic's open. We have a whole entire team of people that are working with us here. I see some of them on right now. So, Sabrina, would you like to introduce yourself and just talk about, your transfer experience to UCSB? And also, Lysandra's been here since day one, working hard to establish the Underground Scholars, so we could, open up the mics now and start talking about our experiences here. But go ahead, Sabrina, if you'd like to chime in.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I wanted to say first, thank you to everyone who presented today. Your work is so critical to really impacting everyone's lives, seriously. So thank you. You guys were super informative. I'm actually not a transfer student. I entered in as an athlete a while ago. And yeah, so I'm new to the Underground Scholars at UCSB. I work with Gil, primarily doing like policy advocacy. And I'm also trying to bring some of the policy advocacy down to a local level in San Diego with a program that I'm doing with a nonprofit. And yeah, that's a little bit about me.
Thank you so much. And then, Lysandra, would you like to talk about the work at SBCC and stuff you're doing over there?
Hi, everyone. So my name is Lysandra. I'm at Santa Barbara City College. This will be my first year. So a little about over there. Well, we started organizing when we got here. There's a program at SBCC Transitions. We have yet to kind of collaborate and tap in. So we're just trying to build that pipeline from the surrounding city colleges to come to UCSB. So like I said, when we came here a year ago, we started organizing and stuff on campus at the university level. But this was pre-COVID, so we started getting a lot of other organizations involved, and it was getting really good. The turnout was getting good. We had a transfer empowerment day that was in person. So we're just eager to go back into that system of, because this can be hard, especially for our population. This is a lot of freedom, and a lot of freedom is a devil's playground. And so trying to get each other distracted and just being in touch with each other, because we've had a lot of our folks drop out, and this was the only thing that was kind of keeping them on track. So now that we have all this freedom, how can you hold yourself accountable? So by having this organization, this is just something that we can all kind of, connect. That's why we do writing workshops also every Friday, and it's open to anybody. It's not just anybody on the university level, but anybody wants to, tap in. We'll share those links too on our social media and let everybody know. And like I said, it's just to kind of check in too and let us know how your classes are going. So like I said, I have yet to get more involved on the Santa Barbara City College campus, but we're here now. So yeah, we just hope to collaborate and get some more folks of our folks here at UCSB.
Awesome, thank you so much. And I see Noel, I see there's a lot of folks from a lot of the other community colleges. If you'd like to chime in, and Cheech, thank you so much, truly appreciate you. If you would like to talk about Biggie up there, Cheech, that would be cool too, and talk about the work y'all are doing.
Gracias. Yeah, so Biggie stands for Beyond Incarceration, Greater Education. 4 years ago when I started community college, I felt out of place. I felt like I didn't belong. And my first day of school was my teacher's first day of teaching. And I was kind of overwhelmed. She asked me, "Hey, Teach, what are you going to do after class?" And I go, "I'm going to go get high." She's all like, "Why?" I go, "I don't belong here." And she goes, "Yes, you do. Have you heard of EOPS? Have you heard of the Learning Assistant Program?" I go, "This is my first day." And Ms. Lynn Becerra, my teacher, said, "This is my first day too." She goes, "Why don't you walk with me on campus and find these places?" We literally walked to these places, and she got the applications, told me, "Here, fill this out. Here, fill this out." They thought she was the student and I was a teacher. And that woman changed my life. If it wasn't for her, in August, I wouldn't have graduated with 3 AS degrees in automotive technology. And the funny thing about that is I don't even work on cars anymore. I switched my majors to sociology with transfer because I want to go to the UC level now. I want to put a doctor in front of my last name. And, Biggie has blown up since I started it 4 years ago. We have Beyond Barriers now, which is another resource on campus for the formerly incarcerated. I'm an ambassador for underground scholars with Berkeley, working closely with Flacco, and it's just been an amazing journey. I had the opportunity to meet Noel over at SBCC, and a lot of good making contacts, shaking hands. Man, Flacco, that is most important. When I went to Berkeley 2 years ago and took a tour over there, I'm a Southsider. I'm formerly incarcerated, and I was like, man, I ain't going up to these norteños. And that was my train of thought, man. As sick as it sounds, and I went up to the camarada over there, and I shook his hand, man, and I got his phone number, and I go, he's just like me, man, formerly incarcerated and doing the damn thing. So I put all bullshit to the side. I went up there, shook his hand, and I made some good ass contacts. So that's a good piece of advice you could give anybody is shake hands, make contact, and reach out. So gracias, flaco.
That's what's up. Right on. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. If Noel would like to chime in, or anybody from the transitions program, the mic's open. Please chime in if you would like to, just extend greetings to everyone around you.
What's up, everyone? I just want to say thank you for putting this event together. Just sort of what I've said over email. Some of the exchanges we've had is I definitely wish we were on campus to do this. Last year when we had this event, it creates a different feeling, instead of being on this virtual platform, like being on campus to actually shake hands with all of you all, hear your personal stories, visit the classrooms, because for a lot of people that have been through this past, it's not like something we are taught to attain to, and to be on campus, it starts breaking down those barriers. And you said it right, like a few years ago, I can't think of one person who was formerly incarcerated at UCSB. And since you've arrived, that's starting to open the door, and to have the Promise Scholars Program, Underground Scholars start opening that door, it's really helping. And unfortunately, this whole COVID situation, like right when it started happening, the first thing that came to mind is it's going to affect our course offerings in the jail. It's going to start affecting our students at SPCC. It's a domino effect, and we're still dealing with it. Over at City College, we've had a lot of changes with staffing, and also the trickle down effect it's had. Like you said, and a lot of our students are dropping out because of this new expectation. Like there wasn't a blueprint when this happened. All colleges, when it went online, the day after, it's like either you're going to adapt to this virtual environment or not. And the first group of people that are affected directly are formerly incarcerated students, and a lot of our EOPS students, like our low income, first generation students that don't typically have access to, say, computer or this technology, you get affected, and sort of what I said is that the achievement gap's only going to get much larger, and it's unfortunate, right? Like today, I wish we would have had a bigger turnout with EOPS, but we're dealing with low enrollment at City College. It's happening across California. It's tough, right? But it's events like this that we look around and see that we can definitely build. And I'm hoping in spring semester all this changes. I'm staying optimistic, but I'm hoping sometime in May there's a time where we can actually come together in person and just start building and looking forward. So keep reaching out. If there's any way I can help, connect anyone with City College and our group of students, let me know. Right now, I mean, in the past, we had over 25, 30 students every semester. Right now, we have about maybe 14, 15 formerly incarcerated students on campus, so our numbers are low. And I'm hoping to really increase those numbers. But, I'll stop there. But definitely thank you for putting this together, inviting our group, and I'm hoping this gets larger every year.
Awesome. That's what's up, Noel. We appreciate you. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. So that's the end today. If anybody has any questions, I'm going to go ahead and share this real quick. And let's see. And if you want to chime in with any more questions, with that ends our formerly incarcerated student day here at UCSB. Thank you, everyone, who took the time to join us today. And The recording, we have the recording, we'll send it so that it could be shared with all the formerly incarcerated students. But we appreciate everyone joining us today.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Gracias.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Highly appreciate it. Thank you.
Hold up, I'm still on there, man. I'm still on there, hold up. Still on. Are you still on there? Will you go into it? Froze. Hold up, I'm trying to get it to stop. It froze.
That was my job.
That was your job, being on leave?
Oh, hey, is there people on there?
Yeah. So what did you have to do?
It's like weed and like